Go.
Welcome to the end of our tour, the final stop on our walk through the history of Lower Manhattan. Behind me is the oldest church that is still standing on the island, St. Paul's Chapel. And because of the fire in the late 1700s, it was the church that George Washington and his Congress worshipped at on the day of their inauguration. You can visit not only the church, you can also visit the pew where George Washington sat, and they still have daily worship services there. The church more recently served as a headquarters, a rejuvenation center for the rescue workers on 9/11. The fence around the church cemetery served as a temporary memorial. People came from around the city, around the country, whoever was in town, and they put memorials and they put missing person signs on the fence. The fence became so crowded with the memorials and the missing person signs that the church set up 15 extra pylons to take the additional donations. But that ended up not being enough. By the end of it, the church had set up 400 additional pylons to take all the donations and well wishes and missing person signs posted by the people of the city. It's impossible to talk about the city of New York without talking about 9/11. And of course, I don't even need to tell you what 9/11 was. You all know, we all remember. We all remember exactly where we were and what we were doing on September 11th, 2001. For lack of a better term, it is a day that will live in infamy. The World Trade Center towers were conceived of in the 1960s. It was supposed to be a conglomeration between the cities of New York, the states of New York, and New Jersey, because it was going to be the headquarters of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. The original thinking was that this massive complex was going to be on the east side of the island, but New Jersey pointed out that New Jersey is actually located on the west side of the island. So an area over here full of the late 19th century tenement buildings and warehouses that we've seen in other parts of the city still standing was raised. And these two beautifully huge monoliths to power and prosperity were built. They were each 110 stories high, 1,363 feet as the tallest one, 60 feet was the shorter one. And they were built and completed in 1973, open to the public in 1974. The highest observation level was on the 109th floor, but there was a rooftop deck, which is unique to many skyscrapers that do not have flat tops. And when the weather was nice and not too windy or rainy, the rooftop would be open to the public. And I was fortunate enough to be one of the people who got to go up there at one point. I think I was about 10 years old, and I still remember the feeling of being that high up in the sky, in the clouds, a feeling that can't be replicated, really, in a lifetime. The towers were attacked in the early 1990s. A car bomb went off in the basement, but the structures held. Security was increased, but it became it was a symbol of New York. Even though people thought architecturally the buildings were ugly, they were not innovative, they were not beautiful, it was a symbol of New York. You always could recognize the New York skyline by the Twin Towers, and a little bit by the Empire State Building, 30 blocks north. On 9/11, 4 planes were hijacked. One each hit each of the towers. One went to the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., and one was crash landed in a field outside Shanksville, Pennsylvania. When the towers were hit, the New York City Fire Department rushed to their aid, and firefighters stormed up the hundreds of flights of stairs as thousands of workers fled down the stairs. They say that everybody who was below the levels of impact in the towers survived the crashing of the towers those days, but that those who were above where the planes hit in the buildings mostly did not survive. The New York City Fire Department lost 363 firefighters that day, the largest single day of destruction in the history of the department. The towers came down, which was a little bit unexpected, but they'd been built very lightly in order to sustain, so that they could be built higher. They were built with a light frame, and that frame couldn't withstand the heat of the fires of the burning engine fuel, the burning airliner fuel. And the towers came down, blanketing the entire lower Manhattan in ash and dust and paper for days, for weeks. It took weeks to clean up the city, and even then it took a long time for the city to recover. Construction on the new site and the memorial did not begin until 2006. And now One World Trade Center, which will be the largest tower in the complex, is expected to open to the public next year. It's going to be 1,776 feet tall from the ground up to the tip of the spire. The number 1776, symbolic, of course, of the year that the Declaration of Independence was signed. When it was initially conceived, the idea of calling it the Freedom Tower was broached, but the city has decided that no, it is number 1 World Trade Center. There will ultimately be 6 or 7 World Trade Center towers again, number 1 being the tallest, and all of them built around the memorial. Now the memorial, the 2 pools of endless water are built in the footprint of the original 2 towers, and the pools around are inscribed the names of those who perished in them. You can visit the memorial. It is free. You do need a ticket. You can get a ticket every day in the visitor center that's on the other side of the cemetery here to visit at any time. You can also get a ticket online. Unfortunately, at this point, we cannot see the memorial from street level without being inside the memorial. But if you ever have an opportunity to stay in a hotel around here and you can stay on an upper floor, you can typically look down on the memorial, which itself is a beautiful view. I want to thank you all for joining me today on this tour of New York City. Please do not hesitate to ask me any additional questions. Let me know if I can help you in your travels today, help you get somewhere, help you decide somewhere to visit. There are millions of other amazing attractions in the city that I haven't had an opportunity to share with you today. Please let me know if you need any suggestions about where to go or what to see. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.